Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. Ready for new stories I have for you today? Let's go to the first story, about OP's girlfriend, who took OP's deceased wife's pictures from the walls and hid them. Enjoy the stories, guys, and don't forget to like and subscribe. And of course, don't forget to leave a comment. I married my wife when I was 24 years old. She was diagnosed with stomach cancer when I was 29 and she was 31, and it was a life-changing experience for me. About 6 months before the diagnosis, we were considering divorce, but after she was diagnosed, things took a rapid 180. We forgot all about the divorce. We tried to enjoy each other's company, and the more and more sick she got, the more and more I did for her. Some things which were things I never thought I could do, like changing her bedpan and dirty sheets, and keeping her at home for her to pass here peacefully. It changed me as a human being, and as much as I hate the experience, I know that it turned me into a better person. I have become much more kind and patient since all of these things happened. I stopped being completely shallow, and if I am being perfectly honest, even my views on women changed, because I wasn't a good man back then, and was emotionally very immature and selfish. I still am not perfect, but I do believe I treat people better than I ever did before, and I don't know why it took something that drastic to make me become a better person, but I did. Everything after she passed was a blur, and I suffered miserably remembering some of the awful things I did and said to her. It was a typical grief process, which I managed to find my way through, even if I do still have some regrets, and I do think about her a lot. So, skipping forward to about 9 months ago, a lady I used to work with started helping with my son for a few hours a week. She needed some extra money and knew I was a single dad, and she knew what happened with my wife because we worked together while all of these things happened. I think she had intended to pursue me very soon afterwards, and I wasn't totally reluctant because I did start to develop feelings for her too. And we eased into a relationship, which was very comfortable for me. I have been nicer to her than I ever was to my wife, and a few months after she started helping me with my son, we decided we'd like to be more than just friends. I was completely okay with this, but was always really honest about my feelings for my wife, and the fact that I don't think I'll ever want to remove her from my life or my son's life. We moved in together about a month ago, and she moved into my house. This house that my wife and I shared long before she ever came into the picture. My girlfriend has been wonderful to my son. She has been patient with me too. She's the first woman I've slept with since my wife died, and the first woman I've wanted to be in a relationship with. And as a single father, I don't really have the energy or desire to date around. She's truly the only woman who has interested me enough to want to be in a relationship with her. A few days ago, I came home and the pictures of my wife that were on the mantle were not on it anymore, and I asked her why she took them down. She said she bought some new art and that she wanted to put it there, and I told her it wasn't okay. She got really upset with me and told me that I need to get out of this funk, and that it's been so long, and since I was planning on divorcing my wife anyway, it isn't like there was anything to grasp onto anymore. Then, she said it bothered her that she moved into my house and that I won't let her decorate or change it around at all. And that's not really true. I just haven't gotten around to thinking about completely changing my house around for her. I don't know what advice I'm seeking. I guess I just want to know if it's really that inappropriate to have pictures of my wife up when I have a new girlfriend. This is a first for me, and I haven't lived with anyone else or known how it works. The pictures are all over the house, in the living room. There are some on the refrigerator. There's one in the dining room from our wedding day. My son has them in his room, and I had some in my room. But I put them away in a drawer after that because I can understand how it might be strange for her to have S in front of those pictures. I don't want to use my son as an excuse for holding on to my wife, but I do think we should keep the pictures up for him too, and she understands that, but says we could just keep them in his room. I'm not sure if I'm out of line telling her no ducking way will I take the pictures down, because there will always be a part of me that loves my wife. I didn't word it like that to her, but it feels like a silly thing to argue over, and I don't want to continue arguing over it. I am not trying to be insensitive to her feelings, but I think she's taking it too far by taking them down herself. If she wanted the pictures to come down, she should have had a face-to-face conversation with OP. It's a tough situation to navigate, and if she was worried about her place in OP's life versus his deceased wife, these are normal feelings to have. But the way she handled it, just taking the pictures down without even talking to OP about it, was hugely disrespectful and out of bounds. Grief doesn't have a timetable. While yes, it's generally a good idea to move forward with your life as best you can, other people don't have the right to rush you along that process. Also, those pictures aren't just of OP's wife. She's OP's son's mom. It's unfair to him to take all the pictures down of his mom and pretend she doesn't exist. He's going to notice, and he's going to feel bad about this new woman trying to erase and replace his mom. Update. I'm going to try and keep this short. Last night really didn't go well at all for any parties involved. My girlfriend got back and was very hostile towards me. After I had asked her countless times what she did with the pictures. She interrogated me as to why I have the pictures in the first place, accusing me of having personal time to them. Seriously, that's the craziest thing I've ever heard in my life. She said that I am being insensitive to her needs. I'm not meeting her needs. I treat her just as bad as I did my wife, and that the pictures need to come down because she's not comfortable with the fact that I am taking personal time to them. Whoa. No, I wouldn't have personal time to the pictures on the mantle. I do have some intimate photos of my wife stored away in my safe, but haven't touched them in years, and the ones on the mantle are not something I would even consider having personal time to. I tried to compromise and offered her even another wall in the house if she would just put the pictures back, and then offered to keep them in my safe where she doesn't have to look at them. Which I wouldn't have really done most likely, but I wanted to see if she'd tell me where they were, if I offered that. I've always been extremely honest about my feelings towards my wife and the fact that she will never leave my life, and that when I married her, I vowed to love her forever, including in death, and she needs to accept it or get out. I offered to buy her a hotel room for the night because I needed time to myself, which she flipped out about and then said she was going to her friend's house. She texted me throughout the night telling me what an awful human being I am. So after she went to her friend's house, I invited over my sister's wife, who I haven't talked to much lately, because my girlfriend has been jealous of her in the past and I didn't want to cause issues, so I backed off. My wife's sister is very special to both my son and I. There's never been anything romantic between us. We've been platonic friends for a long time, and if anything, I view her as my own sister. When I was married, we didn't like each other at all because she was my wife's best friend, and they talked about everything, including our marital status. After my wife died, however, she and I became best friends, and I have no shame in this. She is a great role model to my wife. My son loves her, and in ways it's like the two of them combined are this piece of my wife that I miss so much. She looks a lot like my wife, so yes, she is very beautiful, which I think is part of why my girlfriend became jealous and part of why I understood why she didn't want us to have a close relationship. So I listened to her there, and I still talk to her enough just to keep her in my son's life, but we stopped watching movies together, or getting dinner, or playing video games, or doing any of the things that friends usually do together. So when she came over, we decided to have a bottle of wine, turn on a movie. Basically, we did what we always did in the past. We talked about my wife and what she'd be like now, what she'd think of all the cell phone cameras. Wife loved photography. What she'd think of my girlfriend had we gone through the divorce and she was alive. What kind of mother she'd be to our son, and what she'd think about his interest in robotics. We talked about giving him one of her old cameras. Then, inevitably, we talked about my girlfriend, and she did bring up a lot of great points that I was truly just blinded to. We came to the conclusion together that my girlfriend was being manipulative with the tactics she used to move in with me. That hiding the picture should always be a deal breaker. That her isolating me from my wife's family may have been emotional abuse, etc. Just a lot of things I hadn't really considered before. My now ex-girlfriend came home around 5 in the morning. My wife's sister slept in my son's room with him, where she always sleeps, because we had been drinking last night and it wouldn't be appropriate for her to drive. So my girlfriend literally flips the duck out about my wife's sister's car being out front. She started telling my wife's sister she is a promiscuous woman, and that she knew I'd be cheating on her the second she walked out the door. I know it looks bad, but for crying out loud, my wife's sister is practically a sister to me, and is my son's aunt, and I'm not completely unethical. To me, it would be no different than having my own sister spend the night. And at this point, I was considering breaking up with her anyway, so it didn't really matter what she thought of the situation. Finally, my wife's sister went off on my girlfriend, and my girlfriend got crazy and told me I need to choose right now between my wife's sister and her. I told her that I wasn't playing the ultimatum game and told her that I wasn't choosing my wife's sister, but I was kicking her out and not keeping her in my life. My girlfriend went out to the patio and played with her phone. My sister-in-law left and took my son with her to get him somewhere safer. I went outside to tell her I'd be giving her cash and buying her a moving truck to get her to wherever she needs to go, but she is not welcome in my house. She got really upset with me. Some things I've learned, and bear with me because I know it's hard to relate or to understand unless you yourself are actually a widow. 1. I am in fact ready to date once I'm past this ordeal. It has been 5 years. I am ready for that, and I think my son is as well, even if I take it way slower next time and don't start inviting women to live with me. I do believe I might be able to find a nice woman who accepts my wife's role in both mine and my son's lives, based on the responses in the previous thread from other women. 2. My sister-in-law believes I'm prone to just put up with some crap from people because of what I went through with my wife and being fearful of losing people or reliving that nightmare. 3. I feel terrible to have to put my son through this, but I'm confident about talking to him and explaining why and apologizing to him. He's a smart boy, and I don't want to remove people from his life, but it's not okay to let people abuse you or take advantage of you. I think you will understand that. And I'll be explaining that sometimes people appear very nice, but they aren't actually nice. This woman came into our lives and tried to take the place of his mother. No woman will ever replace his mother. So I, male 31, have been with my fiancée, female 34, for 2.5 years. She's a widow who lost her late husband unexpectedly. She's such a sweet, understanding, and caring person. She moved to my hometown not too long ago. That's how we met. She never showed me any pictures of her late husband. She did, however, talk about him a lot when we first started dating. I was curious to know more about her late husband from what she told me. I never got to see any pictures of him. She said she wasn't keeping any, which was very, very strange and unusual thing for a widow to do. But I didn't want to pressure her. Besides, we have been happy in our relationship and rarely ever fought. We got engaged on March and she moved in with me a week later. I gotta admit, being curious, I did try snooping around, hoping to see a picture of her late husband, but I found nothing. I tried for a period of time, then stopped. Last week, we were talking about what we love the most about each other, and she focused on my looks. Like my hair, my nose, my eye color more than anything else. She told me that I reminded her a lot of her late husband, and said we both had so much in common in how I look. I playfully told her that I never got to see him and won't agree with her till I see for myself. She got up, exited the bedroom, then came back with a box. She sat next to me and opened it, and there were about 4 or 5 pictures of her late husband inside, as well as his wedding band. I instantly noticed how similar we both looked. She handed me the pictures to take a closer look, and what I saw was unsettling. The guy looked a lot like me, and I'm not exaggerating. He had my nose, my eye shape and color, the same forehead shape, almost same skin color, but he looked younger. For some reason, I had an upsetting feeling and I no longer felt comfortable. I noticed that she kept smiling, like she found it cute how we both were almost look-alike. She went to add that me and her late husband also shared the same gift ideas and liked the same car brands. I was stuck, not knowing how to react. She finally noticed my face expressions and asked me what's wrong. I asked why she didn't show me these pictures till now. She claimed not wanting to cause jealousy, but I'm sure it wasn't about that. I quickly gave her the pictures back and said I was too tired and needed to get some sleep and couldn't watch the movie with her. She frowned and walked out. I just can't help but feel that the fact that me and her late husband have similarities when it comes to looks is the reason she kept me from seeing those pictures. I feel so uncomfortable and am thinking of bringing this up to her. It seems she has a type. Also, OP's looks may well have been what first drew her attention to OP. But if she didn't like OP's personality and other qualities, she wouldn't have continued to have a relationship with OP. A lot of people have a type. That said, OP should probably talk to her about this. It's clearly bothering him, and he needs to clear the air on the subject or it's going to keep right on bothering him.